Hello YouTube, how the fuck are you? Matthew Williams here. As you can see, the stress of life has made my hair turn white. So, Wiltshire Council are doing a consultation on Stonehenge, Avebury and associated World Heritage Sites. And they've got a consultation draft, and basically they're looking for people to give input on their thoughts and feelings about Avebury and Stonehenge. So, they've got 4 segments that they're looking for input on: statement of significance, integrity, authenticity, and management and protection. Now, their authenticity headline is: this section sets out how the significance or outstanding universal value is authentically or truthfully expressed through the survival of monuments in situ and their continued prominence in the landscape. Challenges to this and suggested responses are outlined. Are there any comments or additions you would like to make? So, I have said the following. Let me just make sure this is actually recording, because I've done this before. Right, before I go spilling my guts out and then find out the bastard's not recording. No, it is recording. The authenticity of Avebury is not helped by police road cones, fascistic vehicle stealing tow trucks, and police helicopters shining down powerful searchlight beams down onto walkers, and then the policemen and women who descend on the site at solstice to harass the people who are visiting and stop them and search them and arrest them. This is nothing more than a modern day return to medieval attempts to stop pagan religious gatherings at these sites. The police have been begrudgingly forced to allow people to visit Stonehenge because of the bloody battles engaged by the police, who turned violent on the public many times there. Why should the police care? Never let anyone forget the Battle of the Beanfield, which was televised as a police brutality case on a massive scale against those who only want to exercise their right to visit these sites in peace. Now let me move this because I can't read. Never let that be forgotten. There still exists today a mindset amongst those in power and those who live in the area of Avebury that seem to think they own Avebury and it is theirs, and pagans and visitors are a pest and should be kept out. Whilst on the face of it, the image of Avebury, whilst on the face of it, an image is given where visitors to Avebury are seemingly welcome to these sites, but at the same time many things are done to keep the visitor compliant or just to go away, such as charging car parking, restrictions on the hours of visiting, and closing of facilities like public toilets, and warnings of fines to be imposed for anyone stopping in parking areas too long and sleeping in the area, and that there is no camping facilities. This sort of attitude seems outdated and not in keeping with authenticity of the site. The sites are meant to be free for the people and a treasure to behold, not a piece of government property which we have to beg permission to pay to see. This is not the natural flow of good energy around these sites, to be made to grovel at the feet of false masters and false owners. People who visited Avebury in the past would have stayed in the fields and put up their own forms of camping tents. Now this is authentic. So where is the hostel or campsite at Avebury? There isn't one. The council doesn't want one. Another travesty is the way that sheep are allowed to graze at Avebury and Silbury Hill 24/7, producing along with it urine and faeces, which scatter every foot of the site. This makes the visitor to Avebury not want to sit down, because no matter where you sit, your body's probably going to come into contact with sheep dung. The thought of filth at these sites puts off the average Avebury visitor wanting to sit down, and keeps them moving along, and perhaps moving along to the vastly overpriced restaurants such as the Stones. You see, the emphasis has gone from Avebury wanting you, the person, to visit Avebury as Avebury, but more to keep moving and move to the gift shop. This is not authentic, and this is not why people came in the past. People did not come to be taxed and then fleeced at Avebury. And if you want to keep Avebury a special treasure, an authentic treasure, then abolish the parking charges for the car parks and provide a cheap hostel where people can stay, or a designated camping area. The local councils have refused to do this in the past because of the gypsy element, or the riff-raff, that they want to keep out, and they seem to think that this sort of thing would attract. You see, really, there is no room in Avebury for those who cannot pay. The lodge, which is a bed and breakfast in Avebury, starts at £95 a night, but usually is more like 120. So if you can't afford to pay, Avebury doesn't want you. And this is not the type of message the World Heritage Sites should be giving out. So to continue to let sheep walk up Silbury Hill, nibbling away on it 24/7, apparently doesn't cause any harm. But to have a few people hiking up it does. To have a camper put up a tent near the stones is terribly offensive and must immediately be reported to the police. But allow 200 animals to permanently defecate around the stones is perfectly fine and has been encouraged. So, in essence, get rid of the parking charges, make Avebury free. Tell the police to go shove it, and tell the locals that if they don't want to live in a World Heritage Site, then they should just have to put up with it, because after all, they chose to want to be there. So just like the people who are trying to visit it now. Now that seems very much more in keeping with the authenticity, don't you think? In fact, if you want Avebury totally authentic, then how about getting rid of the road, and the houses, and those awful churches which were set up to throw the scent away from the true meaning of Avebury. The very same houses that were built with the stones of Avebury, which were broken up. Yes, to keep Avebury authentic, we need to evict the residents and force them to move elsewhere and break up their houses to remake the stones of Avebury. Then you might be getting somewhere close to authenticity. Apart from that, let's not kid ourselves. Avebury's not that authentic. Oh, and it's very interesting how if you draw the Avebury circle as a circle, and then you put two lines through it to find the centre, it isn't in fact where the cove is, which is designated as the centre of Avebury. That's not the real centre. The real centre lies just inside the tourist church, the tourist centre church. Or perhaps you might see it as just outside on a stone wall outside the church. That's the true centre of Avebury, not the one that the public get told is the cove. So, if you want authenticity, then perhaps you should be telling the people where the real centre is. And that would be a nice start. So, that was my little ditty to the council, and it's on their website. Go and have a look. It's really bad spelling and grammar because I'm bloody awful at checking these things, but there we are. So get your input onto this site. Get on there on wiltshire.council.gov, portal, spatial planning, consulty, documents, Avebury, WHS, and put your information in there for the document.